Good morning, everyone. Virgo here. It is June 5th, 2019. I hope everybody's having a great week so far. Did you guys know that Virgo and Wonder Woman work together? No, really. I have a subscriber, and her name is Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman actually sent me a wonderful email yesterday. And it's with regards to the federal rent check program that you guys have been seeing all over online. She was asking me whether or not that's a legitimate program and to give her some information on it as to whether it's a scam or not. And I decided, after doing some further research on it, that this was something that I probably need to put up on my channel so that people understand what the real federal rent check program is. Let me start by saying that in almost every single scam that there is an element of truth to it. Almost every single scam. That doesn't include some of the sovereign citizen scams in the past, with the exception of, for example, they claim the birth certificate is monetized, and the real truth of it is, yes, there is such a thing as a birth certificate. But in this particular case, there's a little bit more truth to it than there is just blatant lies. However, it's not what people think it is. So the question being, what is the Federal Rent Check Investment Program, which is actually what it's really called? Now, what Wonder Woman was asking about is an investment program that's called Federal Rent Checks. I'm sure that she saw that online. As a matter of fact, I know she did because she sent me a link to a news broadcast that had stated something about this in the beginning of their newscast. Now, this is an independent news source that is online on YouTube. And the news source brought this out by saying, check out the federal rent check program. It is definitely not a scam. I'm not going to go any further into who that was that stated that, but I'm just going to tell you guys that anything that sounds too good to be true, you need to check out thoroughly or bring it to me and I will check it out, because I would say that that person was not giving you appropriate information as a news source. So just be careful. You can see this as well. Just do a web search for federal rent checks, but be very careful before you act, okay? You guys can search that on YouTube. You can search that just on the web, and you will come up with all kinds of advertisements. The pitch basically implies that since the federal government pays rent on some of the buildings that it uses, and you, as the taxpayer, in a way own the federal government, that you too are entitled to your fair share of the monthly rent and government that the government is paying. The government paid rent on government buildings, in other words. It seems simple. That's the way that they try to make it seem anyway. So here's an example of a quote that is actually from one of the videos that I watched on it. The quote is, each of your federal rent checks could initially be made out for $1,795, but over time, those checks could be worth much, much more, end quote. So after a brief written pitch, you'll be asked to view an online video that explains the concept further and is packed with pictures of real people, real being not so sure, with big fat federal rent checks that they're getting every month. Some of the checks are more than $15,000. It's enough to make anybody that's actually looking at these videos go, wow, this is something I need to be involved with. But not so fast, guys. Let's talk about the legitimacy of the program for a minute. So if you're asking the question, are the federal rent checks a real thing, then the answer is yes, it absolutely is a real program. Uncle Sam absolutely occupies lots of office space in lots of buildings nationwide. Many of those buildings the federal government owns, many of those buildings the federal government rents. So sure, the feds are definitely paying rent. Okay, we'll put it that way. But who are they paying it to? Here's where the logic kind of breaks down. When you pay rent, whom are you paying rent to? And the answer is you're paying to the landlord, the building owner. And who owns the buildings being rented by the federal government agencies? One likely landlord is a real estate investment trust, otherwise known as REIT. An REIT is simply a company that owns, manages, or finances real estate. In other words, it collects rents from tenants like Uncle Sam, then passes along the income to the company's shareholders, one of whom could be you. How do you become a shareholder and get a chunk of the rental income that the REIT collects? You buy shares of an REIT like you would do with any other stock. And wherever stocks are sold, you can purchase those. You can also buy groups of different REITs with mutual funds or exchange traded funds, also known as ETFs. So here's your bottom line. If you want to collect federal rent checks every month, that's no problem. You just need to own shares in the company or the REIT that owns those buildings that the government pays rent on. And that's ultimately what this pitch is telling you to do. Buy REITs and you're set. But here's what these individuals are not telling you. In order to collect $15,000 monthly, you'd likely have to put up $2 million or more into the stock. One that's not guaranteed, like all stocks, these stocks have serious risks attached. So here's my takeaway on this, okay? Pitches like this one are common, and they've been around longer than any of us have. Like many stupid investment tricks, it starts with a kernel of truth. Federal agencies pay rent, but it paints this simple truth as a shocking secret, one that few understand and only that particular pitchman can reveal for you, and it always comes at a price. But the bottom line always ends up being the same thing. Over my, well, I don't want to age myself here, but over several years of me looking into things that sound too good to be true, this definitely is, you guys. This is a situation where you're talking about getting dividends that you pay heavy tax on. These are not checks monthly to pay your own personal rent with, and these are not easy checks to get. You have to invest a lot of money in order to get checks of this size, and it's just not feasible for the general public. I would say that this is a scam under normal circumstances, but because there is a mixture of truth here, I can't label it as an absolute scam. What I am going to label it is as something that is not understood, and being that it is misunderstood, this video is something that needs to go around to others so that they can more easily understand the potential of what they would need to do and what they would need to invest money-wise in order to see those kind of returns. This is not a program without risks. This is not like purchasing a bond through Treasury Direct. So you go to Treasury Direct and you purchase a bond that's a 30-year bond, and you are very close to guaranteed that those bonds are going to go up in value and you're going to cash out. This is a risky endeavor. And in the event that you end up losing your money, there is no recourse. You have to invest a lot in order to get a lot out of it, and You are at risk along with all of the other seriously wealthy shareholders that do this on a regular basis. Can it pay out and do something for you in terms of addressing your net worth? Absolutely. Is it likely to? No, it's not. The risk is very large, and the cost is also very large. I hope this helps everyone, and if you've got any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments section, or you can always email me at virgotriad@protonmail.com. I want to thank Wonder Woman, and you know who you are, for sending me this information, because I hadn't really thought of doing a video on this, but it was a necessity, and I'm very glad that you sent me this information, so thank you. Also, if you guys want to look more into this, please feel free. There's all kinds of information online, but if you're going to look at the federal rent check program, that could potentially be where you're running into more of a problem, because you'll get ads and information on that particular program, which is being offered by any old Joe Blow. What you need to look at to do research is the federal rent investment program. You can also actually look up the specific code that this is under. So let me give that to you. Give me just 1 second here. So the code that I'm referring to is Public Law 92-313. It's very important that you do your research on this, guys. This is not what it seems when you watch that little 2-minute video. All right, everybody take care. Bye-bye.